Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Superman. This is the Superman from the Rebirth comics. And technically, the Action Comics 1000 Superman is also from the Rebirth comics, as the Rebirth started in Action Comics number 957. But that's a whole other story. So this guy's part of the newest assortment of McFarlane figures. Shout out to my boy Corey. He found this at a local Target for me, hooked me up. So let's go ahead and check him out. Rebirth Superman is a modern Superman. He doesn't have quite the classic look. You can see no red trunks, but beyond that, he's still in his iconic look. The top of the package, 22 moving parts, McFarlane toys, ages 12 plus, DC Multiverse Superman. Here he's in the package. Doesn't appear to have any traditional accessories, simply a flight stand and collector's card. One side of the package says Superman from DC's Rebirth. Other side simply says Superman. At the bottom, got a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode, in case that helps anybody. And on the back side, here's Superman posed up, flying, and here are a bunch of other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures you should check out. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright, now that I got this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He doesn't come with any traditional accessories, but he does come with a transparent flight stand and a collector's card. But before we take a look at the accessories, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Superman from the Rebirth comics. I've also seen him referred to as Superman Reborn. Technically, we have already gotten a Rebirth Superman. The Action Comics number 1000 Superman was technically in the Rebirth comics. Rebirth started in Action Comics number 957, but this is more so your standard Rebirth Superman. He doesn't have the trunks. So let's take a look at him. Starting off with his head and face sculpt, I think it's pretty good. Square jaw, kind of stern looking. Of course he's got the signature curl. Eyes a little bit dark, kind of sunken in. Cheeks look good, you can see the different shading on there. Going further down, got that classic S, looking pretty nice. Definitely like the red and yellow they use on his symbol there. Big beefy body. We will check out in this video which body was used from. My first thought is Infected Superman. Looks like double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, cape, a little bit shorter than what I'm familiar with, no S on the back. And as boots, I've seen a lot of complaints here, and people are not wrong. Now, the typical Rebirth Superman does have these sort of red lines here, but they were lazy. They use old sculpted boots that don't match that. Now, the Superman Reborn, who's from the Rebirth comics, he would have this entire part painted red, so it sort of just depends on which version you're going for. I do believe this is actually accurate, but the sculpting with the old boots is just nonsense. Very lazy. Seems like something Mattel would do, not McFarlane. No trunks. The belt, very similar to the Rebirth and the Superman Reborn. Because of two fists, no alternate hands, some flying hands would have been nice. It's a good sculpt. It's a good, iconic Superman. Not exactly classic. But the boots definitely throw me off. I can't believe they would just paint over some sculpted boots like that. Just sheer laziness. Beyond that, he's a pretty good looking figure, but it's hard to not notice that once it's been pointed out to you. And just a closer look at his head and face sculpt, I think it looks pretty good. I'm very fond of the Action Comics 1000 Superman, and I still think that is my favorite one. I'm a sucker for the classic look, the red trunks, etc. But this looks really good for a modern, iconic Superman. The curl, very important, looks good. Face sculpt as a whole, pretty impressive. Another thing I find to be quite noticeable and annoying on this guy, where his cape attaches at his chest area, you can see a little gap with flesh color, and you can really see that on both sides depending on how the angle is. Would have been nice to tighten up that gap. Now let's check out his accessories, and let's start off with the display stand. His display stand comes in two separate pieces. When put together, it's going to look like this. It has a circular base with DC on it, one peg for the pegals on his feet, then it has this post here, and has a clamp at the top. It is hinged, it can rotate, and it can clamp your figures to have them in a flight position. You can have him flying or hovering like this. And you can also have him flying in the classic Superman pose like this. The only thing missing is a pair of flight hands. Now let's look at his collector's card. It's simply an image of the figure posed up in mid-flight. As you can see, Superman from DC's Rebirth. On the back side, there is a description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. And while not exactly an accessory for this Rebirth Superman, but I was curious if you could swap hands with the Action Comics 1000 Superman, and you sure can, although this guy's wrist peg is quite a bit smaller than the Action Comics Superman, so the hand is very loose. It'll really just fall right off, but it does give you the option for a flight hand. Now when looking at that, I noticed they made the peg on his wrist blue, and I thought they learned their lesson from Wave 1. They did that with the original Superman, and it doesn't really make sense. As you can see, you can kind of see a little bit past the sleeve where it's blue, and they really should have made that flesh colored. Now they've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories. Now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing at about 7.1 inches tall, which can translate to about 18 centimeters. Now let's check out his articulation. Start with his head here. Of course, it can rotate from side to side. His head can look up about that far, which is very nice, especially for fight poses. And he can look down about that far. When you combine his head and his torso articulation, he can really look forward when flying. Very nicely done. Head can't tilt from one side to the other. Shoulders on a ball joint goes out a little bit more than 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got that signature McFarlane butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area. Just increases the range of motion there. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows below that. His wrist can rotate and is going to be hinged as well. Double ball joints in his waist and torso. Can rotate around, go forward and back. His waist can also rotate around, go forward and back, giving him a very wide range of motion in his torso area. Legs, completely does the splits, not a ball joint, but a similar type concept. Rotation, pretty minimal. Legs go forward about that far, back, not too much. Double jointed knees. Then his ankles here, then go forward and back, can rotate, can tilt and rock, and he has toe articulation. And I was curious which Superman figure this Rebirth Superman takes most parts from, and it's definitely going to be the Infected Superman. I would say looking at them, their legs, boots, identical, the crotch area is different, their torso's identical, their arms are identical, different hands, different head, different cape, but beyond that it does appear to be the same figure. Here's Superman hovering above the streets of Metropolis, then flying over the skies of Metropolis. Here's Superman getting ready to take on Devastator, and Superman using his heat vision on Devastator as he gets the upper hand. Now let's check him out next to some other action figures, starting off with some other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here's the Rebirth Superman next to the Action Comics number 1000 Superman, who is technically also based off a Rebirth appearance. Now the Action Comics 1000 Superman does have a couple of flaws, mainly the single jointed elbows, the wrist pegs, but he's still my favorite McFarlane Superman to date. I'm a sucker for that classic look with the red trunks. I just think they did an excellent job with the original Superman. This Rebirth Superman is pretty nice. He's a little bigger, bulkier. He has that modern look to him. Head sculpts are similar. Both pretty good. And here, next to the Infected Superman, which he shares most of the parts. Here are all the different Superman figures McFarlane has made so far in the DC Multiverse line. You may say the line is bat heavy, and it damn sure is, but there are 13 different Superman figures that have been released so far, and more to come. Here are all the different DC Rebirth heroes they've made so far. We have Flash, Batman, Superman, and Hal Jordan and John Stewart as Green Lanterns. I've seen a Rebirth Batman on some leaked lists. I think they're going to do what they did with Superman to a Batman in the near future. We kind of got a little Justice League going on. The biggest omission is a modern comic Wonder Woman, and Aquaman would be nice as well. And here he is next to the rest of his wave. McFarlane doesn't release these figures in traditional waves. but these 4 figures are being found together at Target right now. And then, next to a few other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, here's McFarlane's DC Multiverse Rebirth Superman, next to Mattel's DC Multiverse Rebirth Superman. The Mattel one is not a bad figure, but the McFarlane is definitely superior, and for the same price. Notice the outfit's the same, the curl, the belt, even the boots. McFarlane was not wrong for drawing the red stripe like that, but they were wrong for using some old pre-sculpted boots that don't match. Now, I don't have the DC Direct DC Essentials Rebirth Superman, and I wish I did. He's a pretty nice looking figure. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in, both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane figure, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my way smaller, and I'm going to include as many Superman figures as I can during these comparisons. We've already seen him next to the other McFarlane Superman figures. Here he is, next to some other McFarlane toys. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, next to some more McFarlane figures, these are from different various video game properties. And now, next to some Jack-specific wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles Superman figures. And here, next to some NECA figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. Now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some Mezco 1/12 collective figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse Superman figures. And here, next to some Mafex figures. Then, next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, here he is, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, this is a fantastic figure, but he's not without his flaws. And the main one are the boots. Once you see that, you really can't look at anything else. That red line, just lazily painted well above the pre-existing boot cut that's sculpted there. They should have done a different bottom half of the leg. It seemed like a very Mattel thing to do for McFarlane to do that. Beyond that, he's a great figure. Maybe a little bit beefier than I personally would like. But this is the modern Superman from the comics from McFarlane Toys. I hope they give an update to the Action Comics Superman, give him double jointed elbows, etc. But for now, I'm very pleased with having 2 fantastic representations of the comic Superman. They both could be just a little better. This guy's articulation is fantastic. The sculpt and paint job are excellent. Of course, the boots. His accessories are non-existent. He really needs an extra pair of hands. If it weren't for the boots, I would definitely give this guy an 8 out of 10, but the boots are probably going to knock him down to a 7 out of 10. I know it seems like something trivial maybe to give him such a big ding, but as I'm looking at him right now, my eyes are just going straight to his boots. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.